Hi, Mima.
Hey, sorry. I thought that we
You.
could do this on on laptop, so I was like set up and everything, but now I'm here.
I know that's what happened to me, and I'm like, I'm sitting here. I'm gonna have to take out my mic because it's wanting me to stray here. All right, there we go. Okay,
Yeah.
how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
I
How are you
love it.
doing?
Okay, so to be, totally transparent, this is my first time doing this. So I'm like, I don't know anything about technology. I'm just here. But
I
I
mean,
see that.
we're just gonna wing it. Like I've never done this before. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my computer on and I can hopefully I can start seeing, messages coming in. But yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you today because I'm not gonna lie, I am a big fan of yours.
oh, thank you. I
Yes,
really appreciate that.
and honestly, Mima, it's so funny because I'm Puerto Rican, you're Filipino, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I have a team in the Philippines that I manage for my company, and it's so funny because when I went to the Philippines, when I went to Manila, it was like a connection between like
Right? Yeah.
me and the people. I'm like, are you sure you guys are not Puerto
Right.
Ricans?
Yes. It's very, I feel like there is such a deep connection between like all of the other Philippines and all of the other countries that were colonized by Spain. Like there's
Yes.
just this like through line in culture.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And it's so unique because you guys say some words, and I'm like, hey, I know what
Yeah.
that means.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so I love it that we get together, and thank you for giving me the honor to interview to you today, because I'm in the process of titrating down from GLP-1s, and I grew up in a very military home, and where there's structure, right?
Yeah.
And so my brain resonates with structure. My
Yeah.
brain resonates with analytics. It resonates with um, just being able to say, okay, let's plan it out and let me look at the whole objective, the whole subject, how it impacts everyone as a whole. So, when I hear your story and when I watch your videos, I resonate so much with it because it speaks to me. Because I want to get things done, and I want to get it done, in a way where I have, now that I'm older and I want to live longer, that I have these tools that I
Yeah.
can use going forward, and that I can take with me forever. So, yeah, I wanted to, let me see. Hey guys, hi. Hello. Tell me where you're coming from. It's so cool whenever I hear where people are coming from, like where they're he's tuning in from, because it's from like different
Yeah.
places. Yeah. So let me get my notes here because I want to make sure. So I'm gonna give a little intro, everybody, on Mima. I wrote a little intro for her. So today I'm bringing someone into this conversation who embodies what sustainable transformation really looks like. Mima is the creator behind Quad Goals. She has built a community by being radically honest about her GLP-1 journey, her transition off medication, and what it actually takes to maintain her results in real life. She went from class 1 obese to fit through GLP-1s, whole foods nutrition, and strength training, cycling, and now she's pushing her limits in a whole new way, endurance cycling. Her channel is where strength meets stamina and where real conversations about mindset, maintenance, and metabolic health actually happen. What I love about her work is that she doesn't sugarcoat the hard parts. She talks about weight regain, travel, training, setbacks, the mental game, and the lies we sometimes tell ourselves, all with a level of honesty that truly serves this community. So I'm honored to have her here today. Thank you, Mima.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm always super grateful to be able to tell my story. I've just had just a just such a great experience with the medication. So I just want to share it and hope that people also learn from my own journey, and so that they also have like amazing results the way that I have. My life has completely changed by being on GLP-1s and being on this journey. So
Same here. I feel the same way. For people who may not know you, can you walk us through, the moments of your journey?
yeah, so I guess like the start of this is really the summer of 2024, when my husband and I decided that okay, we are going to get healthy because we wanted to expand our family. And at that time, like I knew, like I wasn't in denial. I was already class 1 obese. I'm 5'3", so at 185 pounds, that's like a lot of weight on like a petite frame like mine. And I was already feeling it like for 2 years. At that point, I was already feeling like chronic back pain, and like setting aside a ton of money to be able to like upgrade flights to business class because I was not fitting or not comfortable in smaller seats, and because I travel a lot internationally for work, so 14-hour flights, like
Hmm.
it was a lot. It was a lot on my class 1 obese frame. So at that point, I was like not delusional that I was not going to be able to have a healthy pregnancy at this weight. And I needed to kind of get my shit together.
Hmm.
So when I went to my PCP and my OBGYN, they were both like in agreement that I needed to lose the weight in order to have a healthy pregnancy. Also, because I have predisposition to metabolic dysfunction, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, gestational diabetes. I do have family members, female family members, who've had gestational diabetes in pregnancy. And I was all predisposed to that. So at that point also, I was terrified because I had tried to lose weight before. I had some average success with calorie deficit, but it took everything, like everything in me, to kind of just lose like 15 pounds, and it basically was like a second full-time job.
Hmm.
So I was scared going into it, but thankfully there was help. Both my OBGYN and PCP recommended me to the weight management program in sort of the same hospital system where my care was. And that sort of like completely changed everything for me. At that point, I did not know about the existence of GLP-1s. I'm not in pop culture.
Hmm.
I did not know anything about Ozempic face at that time and all of this stuff. So GLP-1s were presented to me very similarly as like statins was presented to someone with like high
Yeah.
cholesterol.
Hmm.
So when after a very long into like first appointment intake with my obesity doctor, she was like, you're a perfect candidate for GLP-1s. And from that, the weight management program was basically tailored to my personality, my lifestyle, my circumstances, and that support was basically how I got from that point in September of 2024, which was the first ever shot that I took, to now. And honestly, I don't think I would have gotten the same results if I did not have the complete support that I did. And that was only possible because one, it was all in network in my insurance, as well as the tirzepatide, the Zepbound was in network. So I did not really pay at all that much. And that's why I decided at some point last year that maybe I should open up a YouTube channel to share my experience, because I know reading from Reddit that not a lot of people have the same experience. Not a lot of people have the same medical guidance. Or the kind of like tailored weight management GLP-1 program that I did. So that's like basically my journey. And now I've been off of the medication for 7 months.
Hmm.
Um, and I have gained weight, but all of
Hmm.
that has been muscle.
Hmm.
Because I have been religiously strength training since March of 2025, and just basically kept up with my nutrition and all of that stuff. So that's basically sort of like the big points of my journey. But really, aside from the taking the shot every week from September 2024 to October of 2025, the biggest parts of it was really basically learning how to eat again. Like that's how I explain it to people, is that
Yeah.
I like the entire time, my biggest priority was basically learning how to fuel and feed my body nourishing foods and sort of like
Mm-hmm.
exorcise all of the ultra processed food
Mm-hmm.
and all of sort of like the stuff that has haywired my body and my body's hunger signaling. um
Mm-hmm.
and that was like my biggest priority. I think that has been like the biggest benefit to the program, aside from GLP-1s. So
Yes, and I want to go back to something you said. You and I are very, very lucky because both of us have a medical team and we have insurance that covered it.
mhm,
At the time that you were taking, I've had insurance that covers this medication. I can't even imagine how it is for
yeah,
other folks that don't have that. And you can kind of tell, sometimes when I'm watching other content creators, I can tell, the struggle that they go through because they don't have that guidance, and it's so I love it that you've created your channel to cater to possibly the folks who don't have that guidance. And it happened to me where I'm taking the medication. All of a sudden, I'm like, I had no idea about. I'm 40. I'm going to be 48 in June. I had no idea about micros, macros,
yeah,
metabolic health, and I've been going to doctors all my life. And I'm like, what the hell?
yeah,
Like, how is it that now that this medication is out, I'm now being, and I say forced, but it's like I became curious about metabolic health because it's like, wait a minute, I've been trying to lose weight for the last 20 years. And I'll be honest, I was never a heavy person. And then menopause, perimenopause hit. And boy, that changed me.
yeah,
After my daughter, something happened, it changed me. But at the same time, I was like, why was this information not given to the doctors? And the doctors that are giving out GLP-1s are learning along with us right now.
yeah,
I mean, technically, if we're honest, right, this medication for our community of weight people who have suffered with weight really is 2022 and on. But before that, it was basically, type 2 diabetes and
mhm,
other diseases, but not the disease of, metabolically unhealthy because of weight issues and, the conversation of satiety and food noise is something that is just coming out, now more than ever. But we have people in this community that've been doing different types of diets, and like you said, it becomes like another second job.
yeah, yeah.
And what and the thing
Yeah,
is,
and to me, like when I mentioned earlier that I had like average success with just a calorie deficit without that knowledge of like macros, micros, like whole foods, plate balancing. It was basically just like I just need to eat like 500 calories below my TDEE so that I
mhm,
can lose 1 pound a week. And I think like that's a huge part of what made it difficult was because it was not sort of like this whole of body, whole of mind process. And honestly, there's only such a small subset of medical professionals that have
yes,
this kind of education on this. Like, I think doctors now, when they go to medical school, they probably have like one semester, one class of nutrition, and that's it.
yeah.
And there is just for just how
I come
many
from a family of doctors, and I can say yes, that is
right,
very true.
right.
Yeah.
So it's like
Hmm.
how many percentage of people are now overweight and obese in America? I think it's like 74%.
Yeah.
And there's only like a few thousands, if not tens of thousands, of doctors who are board certified in obesity medicine. And those really are the
Hmm.
doctors that have that kind of education and training on sort of seeing obesity as a whole of person experience and not just a scale or like the number on the scale kind of thing.
Yeah.
So being able to sort of, for me, like have this entire program tailored to me so I can actually understand my body in a very data driven, scientific way that made me understand okay, now this is actually what I have to do.
Yeah.
not just be in a calorie deficit, but this is actually what I have to do to lose weight sustainably and keep it
Hmm.
off and actually have a healthy like life moving forward that doesn't involve me being obsessed with my body weight in general.
Yeah.
Like I am still very conscious of what I eat and my body, but also that's because now I consider myself an athlete, which I would not have thought of prior to September 2024. Um, but
I
it's
love that.
very different. Like it's very different now in the sense of before where I was just so super self-conscious about my body and what I was
Mhm.
eating. So,
Yeah, and the embodiment of like now I'm an athlete, and it's totally a psychological thing. Yes, we do have food noise, and there is an addictive factor that most people don't like to talk about, but we are addicted to overprocessed foods. It's all that we see. I mean, I like you, I travel, and the food is different when you travel
yes.
outside of the United States. It's a total different thing. And this picture that they've created here in our society of like healthier food is more expensive. No, it is not. If you get that whole food, you can make a lot with the whole foods that that and it's not as expensive, but it's just that's just how what's been ingrained in us to believe that if you want to eat healthier, it's too much money. um and honestly, when you look at just satiety foods, and the other day I was really hungry and I'm like, I'm not going to go to McDonald's. I'm just going to go quickly to Kroger and I'm going to grab a steak. And so when I say, oh, a $13 steak, everybody's like, a $13 steak? That's a lot. But the reality is, if I go to, I don't know if I'm supposed to say McDonald's, but but if I go to McDonald's, right, I'm going to get a meal that's going to be at least $15. And it's not the minute after I eat, I'm not going to be fully set with my satiety levels, and I'm going to be hungry a couple of hours later, or minutes even, because of all the added components that they've put in these foods to make us addicted to it. um so how do you handle that, like satiety, the food noise, through this process of not being on the GLP-1?
That's a really interesting question because I was just talking to my husband about this. I don't remember the last time I had fast food. And that's not because I choose not to eat fast food. That's just because I don't want to eat fast food. And I know that some people on sort of the other side of this, like, are super doubtful about that. They're like, I don't believe that you don't want fast
Hmm.
food. And I'm like, I literally just don't. And that's a part of the rewiring my
Yeah,
I say it's like rewiring and reworking how my mind, my mouth, and my stomach works.
I love that.
Um,
Rewiring and reworking. I
yes.
love your wording. Yes.
um because and that's really the biggest advantage of the GLP-1 is because when you're taking the GLP-1, of course, like you have that appetite suppression, you have that like turning off of that food noise. And I know food noise can be very different to people, but to me, I feel like my food noise, while I don't think I technically experienced sort of food noise the same way that people have, where they just obsess about food and think about food a lot. Mine,
Mhm.
I think, was built up really over decades of my body's hunger and satiety signals being really messed up by decades of eating ultra processed food. Um, and the fact that in my program, a part of my weight management program was mental work, so working with a psychologist, sort of like work through your issues with food. And we found out that the reason why I'd been overweight all my life, but I really
Mhm.
crossed over to class 1 obese during COVID.
Mhm.
And we realized that I used food to cope when I was overwhelmed. And during
Yeah.
COVID, I was overwhelmed all the time.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
just constantly eating. And because like the food that we were eating was primarily like ultra processed food, like that really messed up my hunger and
Mhm.
satiety hormones. So the time that I basically was on GLP-1 medication, taking nutrition education very seriously through my obesity doctor and through the registered dietitian on my team. And basically, again, teaching myself how to eat again. By the time that I got off of the medication, yes, my hunger did return. Like I did not feel like, on GLP-1s when you're eating and then suddenly like stop. Like your
Mm-hmm.
body says, okay, stop.
Mm-hmm.
But like that that's not off the medication, that's sort of like not your normal food size, your food consumption. I don't feel that anymore, but I feel my normal, regular hunger and satiety like signals now. So I can
Mm-hmm.
eat past fullness because I don't have that drug to tell me that stop, this is it, or else you're gonna have to puke it all out.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But because I eat primarily whole foods now, I do not have those unnatural cravings um for like junk food.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have cravings for McDonald's anymore,
Mm-hmm.
Chick-fil-A. I will have like these feelings of like, ooh, I want something salty, or
Mm-hmm.
I want something sweet. And those can be actually for me, my cravings can actually be met with whole foods now. Like I don't
Yeah.
need to get something super ultra processed for that craving to be met. So my thing right now, like I have been super obsessed with cotton candy grapes the last
Okay.
couple of weeks. So
Mm-hmm.
now like every time like I have a craving, or like my there's a thing in my tongue that's like, ooh, I really want something sweet. I pick a couple of grapes, maybe like at most 100 grams worth of grapes, and I'm done. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know. I think it was the skill really built up during the time that I was on the medication. So when I was off of it, I knew that I could trust my hunger and satiety signals already. And I do credit my medical team for that, because I would not have known that without my medical team. Like I would not have been I probably like without them, I probably would be like many of the people who go on like the subreddits and be like, I just lost my insurance coverage and I have to be off in a month. Like I only have 4 shots left. What do I do? What do I do? Like I would have probably been one of those people if not for like this entire education that I had with my medical team. So
So
it
let's
took, yeah.
yeah. So for you, I understand what you're saying, because if you are already in the medication and you're psychologically saying, okay, I am going to get hungry at times. What if you are practicing, where am I gonna go and get that hunger food? If the food that my body wants, but if I change it to something that's whole foods, and I start practicing that while I'm on the medication, when I'm not on the medication, then it's easier because I'm already trained mentally
Yes.
to go there.
Yes, absolutely. And because your body has sort of like restarted, like your body has again, um, seen her as said like like liking the term exorcising ultra
Exercise.
processed food. So when you are gotten to a point when you've exorcised like the the materials that ultra processed food has put in your body to kind of like really mess up your hunger and satiety signals, because that's no longer in your body and you've sort of like restarted that, reworked and rewired that. It is a natural like thing. It's not this like obsessive thing where you're like, I need McDonald's, or I need Dunkin', I need like this. Like it's really like, I actually need something sweet or something minty or something. I have not
You
honestly, yeah,
compartmentalize it to what your body's asking, whether it's
yeah.
salty. Okay.
Yeah, so I have not actually like I don't honestly think I have had like a craving where it's very specific to something. Like it's always like a taste profile or even a texture profile.
Mm-hmm.
So I want something like runny or something with like a little bit of jam or something jelly. But it's not like very specific to like, ooh, I want this one specific thing. I don't know if that's like normal or not. But it's again very different from my experience prior to the medication when I would, like, ooh, I really want like very specifically McDonald's pancakes today or something like that. So Yeah, it is a very freeing thing for me,
Mm-hmm.
actually, to not be
Mm-hmm.
confined to like sort of like that kind of one direction looking, um like just really wanting something very bad, this one specific thing, and you can't be satisfied with it until you have
Mm-hmm.
it, or until you're like so sick with something, you know.
Yes.
So I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, it's really like, I think, you know, coming off the drug, feel like my entire body was just rewired, coming off the drug. So yes, I do still feel hunger. I am an endurance cyclist, so I'm hungry all the time. I have
Yeah.
to eat, I have to monitor my carb intake. I need to eat enough carbs to be able to actually have enough energy for the day. I don't really tell myself not to eat anything.
Yeah.
um there's nothing that's off limits to me, but there's just, you know, I just don't have these like very all consuming cravings that I
Do
used to
you
have
think it's
before.
because it's also part of the education? You know, because
Yes.
Malcolm X says education is the passport. It's what is to say? Is the passport to the future. And I think like for me, that quote hits me so much because I use it for everything. I use it for my personal life and I use it for my, my career. And even with this GLP-1, it's like I want to educate myself enough to be able to take it with me. And so when you start seeing that your body biologically is going to respond to how you fuel it through nutrition, through food, in different ways, because now I look at my glucose and my
Yeah.
blood pressure, and I mean I'm like, those were things that you would see like my grandma doing, but it's like
Yeah.
I'm doing it now because I want to set my body in motion and also understand what's my baseline, what am I working on. If I just had a piece of cake, I am that person that will go and take my glucose after, because I want to know, how does this cake impact my insulin sensitivity, or how do I become insulin resistant, and what can I do? So but all that came with educating myself and researching on how does my body react to certain foods, how does it react to fruits versus fiber versus protein. And one of the things that my doctor told me that has really helped me, it's not so much, I know there's a lot of um, controversy out there on how much protein you can take. And one of the things that the baseline that she gave me was, when you get hungry, go for the protein first. Before you go for the carb, for the sweets, if go for the fruits first before you go for, the sweets or whatever, something that's been processed. And so I immediately, when I have some kind of like, oh my gosh, I want something sweet, I go for dark chocolate, blueberries. I have what I go for. Um, and but it's better than just grabbing whatever from the pantry and not being conscious about what I'm picking up. Is that something that you do as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It's part, I would say, of like, one, definitely when I started being on GLP-1, the one of our top priorities, especially the first 6 months, was nutrition education.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a lot of food journaling and discussing all of that with my dietitian.
Mm-hmm.
Just like going, and also like going over like foods that I liked, even if it was like junk food, just like going over foods that I liked and talking about that, and using that knowledge as well with my psychologist to figure out again like where my issues were with food, how I used food, um and how I felt about food or certain kinds of food. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that, again, as you said, like the education and the knowledge portion was very important. And that those were also data points for me. I think we're very similar in that I love knowing more about myself. I love data about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I always do appreciate, because I know that I know of some people who are scared to take their blood tests, for example, because they're just scared to know what they might have. I
Mm-hmm.
am a complete opposite. I'm such a huge planner that I'm like, I need to know what's wrong with me right now so I can figure out what I need to do next.
Mm-hmm.
And that also might have contributed to why my program was so successful and being on GLP-1 was so successful for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I like, and that's why I also started taking DEXA scans as well
Mm-hmm.
at the suggestion of my obesity doctor. I wish I had taken one earlier in my journey to just know like where exactly was my starting point. Like I would have loved to know how much body fat percentage I had when I started in September of
Same.
2024, but I did not because I was like so hyper focused on just like getting into the program and sort of getting started there. But like, and also for me, like knowing my triggers, knowing where
Mm-hmm.
sort of like my peaks of overwhelm, because again, like I used food a lot before to cope with overwhelming
Mm-hmm.
situations, overwhelming circumstances. I rarely used it for like when I'm feeling sad or lonely. It was really like when I'm overwhelmed and stressed. So knowing that and having data about what kinds of triggers, where are my stress levels, like when do I actually feel stressed enough that I'm going to start eating, kind of thing. So data education about myself is very important. And also like just absolute honesty. I promised myself going into the weight management program that I was going to be 100% honest with my doctors. Like
Mm-hmm.
they are literally there. And yes, you may just be, I was just paying a $15 copay for every time I
Mm-hmm.
saw my
Mm-hmm.
dietitian, my doctors, my psychologist.
Yeah.
So it was really, but I know that they will get paid by the system. So like they're literally there to help you and not to judge you. And they are like a weight management clinic. So they have seen everything. Like they
Mm-hmm.
have heard
Yeah.
everything from every patient. So I was like, I'm just going to be 100% completely honest, no holds barred. I don't want to be delusional about this. Like I just want to lay everything on the table. And I do feel like sometimes like that is a huge barrier to a lot of people, is that they go into sort of like these journeys and there are part of them is still in denial about things. And I've talked about this on my channel
Mm-hmm.
too, is
Mm-hmm.
that there's like so many stories that people tell about themselves. And I think to me, like one of my biggest issues, especially with also like people on the I have so many videos about me complaining about people on the GLP-1 subreddits about how they see their themselves like or their biology as something special, like oh my body's like this, my body's like that, and I'm like, do you actually have the data to back that up? Like do you
Mm-hmm.
actually know? Because
Mm-hmm.
like honestly, like a majority of us are average. We are on the average spectrum. We have a lot of metabolic dysfunction, but we're not
Mm-hmm.
working, none of us are really working against like physics, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I don't know where I was going with that, but I do agree with like
No, but
I
but
think
I like what you're saying, because if you have the knowledge, if you get the education, and I tell people I love this book by Dr. Rocio Salas Wallen, Weightless,
yes.
because it's like a little, it's like it's so it's such an easy read, but it really, I hear people talk about some of the challenges that they're going through, and I'm like, it's right here on chapter 8, like it's right here, like the answer is here, like step by step, because a lot of times it's just that people are not, maybe they don't have the time to educate themselves, but it's like your body is biologically is so awesome. It'll adapt to what you want it to do. And yes, food noise is real. Yes, being addicted to food is real, but you are real. And that's where the neuroplasticity comes into play. And not enough is being talked about the neuroscience of weight loss. How is it, like, do you see, because I know I have a friend of mine who's lost a lot of weight, and when she looks at her pictures from before, she's like, I don't even recognize who that person is. Tell me about you, and how has that been for you?
Yeah, oh my god, I think that's been one of them like the biggest mind f of like this entire journey. Is like you don't really realize how big you've gotten until you've lost the weight. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm scrolling through my photos from before, and I was working through because I have two therapists. One is for the weight management, and one is for the one I've just seen for years now, and working through other personal issues. And I was talking to that therapist, and I was telling her how I didn't realize how very few photos I have of myself before September. Well, actually, honestly, like before 2025 was because
Mm-hmm.
I subconsciously, I think, just did disliked the way I looked. I had so very few photos of myself, and even on my vacations, like our like amazing vacations, my husband and I, every year we take
Mhm.
one big vacation to Europe, to
Mhm.
Asia, and I have so few photos of myself
Mhm.
on those vacations because I think just subconsciously like really did not like myself physically.
Mhm.
um, so the ones that I do have, those are the ones that I share over and over again on my channel because those are the only ones that I have.
Mhm.
And some
Mhm.
of them are videos that I have to screenshot because taken by other people. So
Same here, because I was
yeah,
always behind somebody, or just
exactly.
like in a way, like the angle was like, in a way where it made me, because I, naturally have like a skinnier face. And so it's just like, but yeah, I get it. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have enough photos either.
So it's just been like the biggest, again, like the biggest like weird like mind play to me. But now, like, if people saw my my camera roll now, people would think that I was so obsessed with myself because I have so many pictures of myself now, pictures of myself exercising, doing
Mhm.
pull-ups, lifting weights, and
Yes.
just being like so proud of how far
Mhm.
I've come. I have like a lot of friends and family who message me all the time asking me questions about like my strength training routine, my food. And that's really why I have like opened myself up to this kind of like public scrutiny, is because, especially for my family members, my female family members, I want them to sort of like get on this train. Like we all have
Oh.
the same, like we have the same genetics, and I know at
Mhm.
some point you might get to a point where we get to where our older family members, our older relatives are now with type 2
Mhm.
diabetes and all of that.
Mhm.
And the thing is, like, you can't really nag someone into getting on a fitness journey, right? Like, it didn't work with me. Like, I had to like excavate it from myself to actually get on this journey. So my thinking was that, okay, I'm going to open up this Instagram page, this YouTube page. I'm going to share it with family and friends, and then hopefully the more I post and the more they see it, the more that they see that it's working, that they can believe that it can
That
happen
it
for
can
them too.
happen. Mima,
So,
you're speaking my heart, because when you find out the good news, right, you can't help it. Like, you want it, but you're right. It takes it, they have to make that decision for themselves. And the best thing that we can do is be an example and just
yes.
say, you know what, I'm just gonna shut up and just do it, and let them see that it can be done. And you have no idea how many people in your, and that's so beautiful, because I feel the same way in my family. We struggle with dementia and obesity and high blood pressure and heart disease. And so everything that I put out, my heart is for whoever wants to learn something, in simple terms, because I'm not, a medical expert by no means, but I love researching and I love learning, and anything that I can put out that can maybe just get somebody to say, maybe I should go and
Yeah.
get tested. Maybe I should go and get my lipids done, and really have these questions for my doctor. You're changing a life that way. And I love that you have that passion for your own family, because i I feel it right here. I feel it because my heart is beating right now, because I feel what you're saying, because you want your family to be around with you as you they get older, and when this disease really stops that sometimes. And it's sad to say, but it is. I mean, it is the truth. And a lot of times it's just like, hey, let's change the way we look at food, and let's just start there, and then let's just start with little steps here. That's why I think nutrition is so important to talk about, and movement. Not necessarily, oh, I got to go to the gym, but let's talk nutrition, let's talk movement. If you can only do 500 steps, do 500 steps this week, and then next week go to 520, and you'll eventually build up as you go with consistency. And you start believing in yourself, and you're like, oh, I can do it. And now, I mean, I remember I started hiking years ago, because I didn't know anything about this medication, but hiking was the way for me to say, you know what, I may not be at the weight that I want to be, but I can move. And that was my thing, moving. The struggle of wanting to lose weight, and this medication allowed me to, just like you said, be able to say, okay, let me use this as a tool. And then all of a sudden, from the tool, it went into educating myself. From educating myself, it went into a lifestyle change. And a lot of times, people get on a diet or even this medication, and they don't change anything about the way
Yeah.
they eat. And it all starts with the food,
It
you
all,
know.
yeah, and people can, like, I think that's the biggest thing that people are in denial about is the food. And whenever I bring up, like, hey, you should probably like switch to a primarily whole foods diet, et
Mhm.
cetera, et cetera. People are always up in arms. So like, you should stop telling people to not eat. And I'm like, I didn't say that. I said to
Mhm.
eat a primarily whole foods diet to nourish
Mhm.
yourself with nutritious food.
Yeah.
That's and I think like I honestly don't know where the affinity for ultra processed food comes from. And maybe because I was just during this whole journey with me, especially the first 6 months, I got into a deep rabbit hole about ultra processed food. Maybe because I'm like a huge documentary junkie, nonfiction book junkie. So I
Mhm.
got into this rabbit hole of like, all right, I have this like formal nutrition modules from my weight management program. I will devour those, but I need more. So I
Mhm.
like watched so many of these like documentaries about sugar, about fat,
Yes.
about ultra processed food. Read so many books. Like Ultra Processed People was one great books. Another one
Mhm.
was Salt, Sugar, Fat, or something like that. Also good
Mhm.
book. And there was, I think, like it wasn't ultra processed people where there was a line there that said that if you actually saw ultra processed food, like the actual color of ultra processed food, it would not be beige, it would be gray. And I like that, just like in my head being like,
Mhm.
oh my god, you are right, we are eating gray food. We
Mhm.
are literally eating gray food.
And it's crazy because I was eating these protein bars, right? And my body is allergic to alcohol. So I don't drink alcohol. I don't, but I didn't realize that there was such thing until I
sugar
got into the
sugar
GLP sugar
alcohols.
alcohol.
Yeah.
And people are having these protein bars. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think people understand. Like, turn that baby around. You're basically, and alcohol, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but alcohol, it is if you want to fix your metabolic syndrome, you need to quit alcohol for a little bit. I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
saying you need to quit
absolutely.
alcohol forever, but I'm saying you need to quit alcohol for a little bit so that your body can start understanding, like, okay, you're feeding me, if for body recomposition. Oh my gosh, if you want body recomposition, the number one thing is like alcohol needs to be on the side. And I
Absolutely.
know people don't like to hear that, but it's the truth.
It
Like,
is. And the thing is, like, now, and I just had this conversation with my stretch specialist who helps me, like, after my long rides to stretch out so I can still ride the next day. Um,
mhm,
I was just having this conversation with him about alcohols because yes, GLP-1s like do really turn off that desire for alcohol and for other like addictions I think that people feel. And that's why I think GLP-1s are now being researched for that sort of use as
mhm,
well, which is amazing. Like I think this is an
amazing.
amazing class of drugs. I'm such a huge
Yes,
advocate for them. But
same.
now, like being off of the medication, I still don't have that hankering for like regular alcohol. Like I don't think like a can of like beer is worth it for me unless it's like a very special locally brewed beer and we're
Mhm,
at their brewery and we are trying
mhm,
it out. Um and I was talking to, again, my stretch guy about how I love different flavors. So sometimes we go to a special cocktail bar and there's like a
mhm.
cocktail that has these like weird flavors. I will try it because like to try, like, I enjoy food and tastes and textures very much
Let's get
so.
that out there, because
Yeah.
a lot of times people are like, if you say Whole Foods, they think that that's all you eat. No, there's a balance here.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think like I have said this before to many of my friends who've asked me about my GLP-1 journey privately. I have said the amount of respect I have for food now is so much more, which is why I am a lot pickier
Mm-hmm.
about I
Mm-hmm.
am a picky eater in a sense that
Mm-hmm.
I am very picky about the food that I eat. It has to be nutritious for one. It has to be able to fuel my body that in a way that gets me to my goals, which is a healthy pregnancy,
Mm-hmm.
highest level of fertilities, my performance as an endurance cyclist.
Mm-hmm.
And that means actually eating really, really good food. I don't think I've enjoyed food as much now.
Mm-hmm.
Like before, I don't think I really actually enjoyed food. I think I ate food a lot and sort of
Yeah.
like tasted food, but not really enjoyed to the point that I do now.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so strange. Like I would actually call myself like a foodie because I am
Yeah.
very, very picky about where I
Mm-hmm.
eat, what I eat, and also like very picky about the experiences that I have with food.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just I don't know this
And are you one of
meditation.
those people? Because now, I don't say no. If my friends are gonna go to a restaurant and they want to invite me, I'm a homebody. But usually, if my friends are going out and they invite me, I immediately go to the menu.
Oh yeah.
And before I go, I already know what I'm getting.
Oh
And
yes.
I've never gone to any restaurant and said, "Oh, there's nothing here for me to eat." But now I'm more conscious about it.
Yes.
Like, I'm not
Absolutely.
just picking whatever, like, I'm conscious about what I'm going to eat. And if I'm going to eat, the other day for Mother's Day, we're going to go to an Italian place, and I love Italian food. It's my favorite food. And so the entire day I was doing my home electrolytes water. I had eggs in the morning, boiled eggs in the morning, and I was ready for that dinner. And I knew what I was going to have, that I was going to have more, pasta than the usual day, but I wasn't going to say no to a nice dinner, but I prepared my body for that dinner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the same way as me preparing, like knowing what I'm having for dinner before a long ride the next morning. Like, I, we can't just be all like whims to sort of our bodies. And I also like disagree with the sentiment of your body being separate from you. Like,
Mhm.
you are a whole being.
Yeah.
And the reason why, like again, the reason why your body seems like it's acting separate from you, it's because you have been eating for decades food that have like made your body like act this way,
Hmm.
right? So for me, very similarly, like I like to plan stuff. I don't think it's an ED to know what you're eating in a restaurant when you're
Hmm.
going out with friends. I don't
Hmm.
think it's problematic to basically like plan out your day so that that meal with your friends, a not normal, an unusual meal, becomes something that is actually a good experience, something that will be a valuable experience to you. So
Well, you wouldn't tell somebody that's planning a trip, oh, that it's weird that before they go into their trip, that they're planning where they're gonna go, where they're gonna
ex-
stay. It's the
exactly,
same thing. It's
it's
just
the
it's a
same thing.
restaurant. You don't tell somebody, oh, you're taking a list to the grocery store. There's nothing weird about that. Like, that's the same
Exactly.
thing.
It
Yeah.
is the same. It is absolutely the same thing. It is absolutely the same
Yeah.
thing. It's the same thing as like, Monday is done and you're planning what your meals are going to be for Tuesday. It is the same thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, I like it's just to me, and some people may disagree with this,
Hmm.
even with how quote unquote structured my food life seems to be, I feel so much freer now than I was prior to getting on the medication, getting on my program. Like, I just
Hmm.
feel so much freer about what I eat, about how I feel, about how I look. Um, And like today, like we went out, my husband and I with some friends, and we went to an amazing Middle Eastern restaurant. I ate all my food. It was like a really nice like kebab wrap. I had a treat right after it. I didn't really care. It's not tracked. I don't care.
Mhm.
I did also have a good breakfast this morning. I had my usual matcha latte. And
Mhm.
I'm just gonna keep going and doing what I usually do throughout the week. And it's not gonna
Mhm.
bother me that I probably am going way over my calories today. I don't care because I trust in my systems. I know that it's working. I see the visual evidence of it working and also sort of like the performance evidence of it. So, and knowing that, I think like you were mentioning something earlier about doing things little bit at a time, because the more that you do it and the more that you do things that you promise yourself that you would do it, it's more evidence for you. It's
Mhm.
building up that evidence base for you that you can do it. And this entire journey from September 2024 to now, I have built that evidence base for me, doing, and with all the systems that I built up, with the nutrition that I have, so I know what works. And if I go off track one day, or if I again have a big meal one time, I know that I'm just gonna get back to it, and it's not really a big issue. It's the evidence, um, and knowing the science and trusting in the science, to me, is what is important and what's working for me. And I think what's worked for so many people who have lost the weight, whether on GLP-1s or not, and kept it off. So
Yeah. I have one question for you. For people like me who are titrating down, I'm currently, just for people that don't know, so I'm currently taking 5 milligrams once a month. And so my goal is to go to 2.5, and possibly it's going to be 2.5 every 2 weeks until I can, so my body gets used to that. But currently I'm 5 milligrams once a month. I'm trading down. What mindset shifts helped you trust your body again and not operate from fear of regain? Because I hear that so much, people talking about the regain.
yeah,
Do you
it.
have anything to give us? Any
Oh,
wisdom?
oh God, fear of regain. I feel like that's sort of like a bingo where like shot. They take a shot every time someone posts a fear of regain post on the GLP-1 subreddits. Again, I think it goes back to the evidence base of like, you have fear. There's something it's coming from something, right? When you have a fear of something,
Mm-hmm.
um, because that you didn't do the work. You took the drug.
Ouch. Ouch. You're going there.
You took the drug and depended on the drug to lose the weight, but
Mm-hmm.
everything stayed the same,
Ah, okay.
right? So when
Mm-hmm.
like that threat of the drug, which is what has given you this opportunity to lose the weight, when that the threat comes, like that fear comes
Mm-hmm.
out of like, oh my God, the one thing that has made me lose the weight is going away, then
Mm-hmm.
the weight's going to come back because you did not build a foundation with that one thing, which is the drug. Which is why in my channel I always say you have to do these things. You have to learn, teach yourself how to eat a primarily whole foods diet. Build muscle. Number 2, build
Mm-hmm.
muscle. Muscle is so important, and I read this so much in just these spaces, right? Of like
Mm-hmm.
eating and stuff like that, but they never mention the muscle building. If you have metabolic dysfunction, muscle is your number one ally and defense to metabolic dysfunction. Why? Because muscle is the biggest glucose sink in your body. So it actually makes you less resistant to insulin and more insulin sensitive. So,
Mm-hmm.
for those people who have had like trouble processing carbs, like people who, like us, who are genetically predisposed to type 2 diabetes, and
Mm-hmm.
again, have eaten so
Mm-hmm.
much ultra processed food in your life that has sort of like elevated, like that dysfunction has been emphasized in you biologically.
Yeah.
Muscle is the one thing that will help reverse that, because it
100%.
it, it is a metabolically active organ in the same way that fat is metabolically active. But the more fat that you have, the more that it actually it works very well with ultra processed food in that it really messes up your leptin and ghrelin hormones, or your hunger and your
Mhm.
satiety hormones. But muscle works opposite of that. It basically manages your leptin and your ghrelin. It makes
Yeah.
it work so much more effectively, so much better. So if you really, really want to maintain your weight loss off of the medication, or just weight loss generally, and help manage metabolic dysfunction, whether it's type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, insulin resistance,
Mhm.
prediabetes, building muscle is going to be so, so important. And I am so grateful that that was like one of the things that my obesity doctor was like, you need to build muscle. Like
Mhm.
you need to lift heavy weights and build
Mhm.
muscle. Um, so
And
um,
it's not a crazy thing. It's scientifically
it is
based.
absolutely
And
scientific.
it actually works with your GLP-1 medication and your natural GLP-1 and GIP
Absolutely.
component. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I think also this is why like some people have trouble maintaining weight loss off of the medication, or even just generally because they have lost the weight, but so has both muscle and fat, and they haven't worked to build up the muscle mass. So muscle is
Mhm.
so important. And this is also an answer to your question about hunger and satiety and food noise. Honestly, the more muscle that I've built on, the more that like I am satisfied with my
Mhm.
meals, the less cravings that I have. And that also might be because I eat so much sweets when I'm on my long rides. So I'm like
Mhm.
not craving sweets for like days at a time, because I've had like 2,500 calories worth of Rice Krispies on my 70,
Mhm.
80-mile rides. Um, so muscle is so important. But
Yes.
again, when I got off the medication and I got off cold turkey. Like
Oh, okay.
I just forgot to say I was already we had a titration plan, and because I
Mhm.
was on such a low dose, I was on 5 milligrams. Um
Mhm.
and I had been on 5 milligrams for basically a year. I started with
Mhm.
2.5 for 4 weeks, 5 milligrams, and never titrated up. My doctor was like, well, you could go down to 2.5 for a month, or you could just quit because you're in such a low dose and you should be fine.
Mhm.
I forgot to take my shot one Saturday, and I said, eh, I'm just not gonna take it. Like, I
Mhm.
was gonna get off anyway. And I wanted to be off for a significant amount of time before starting to try to conceive, because I wanted to prove that I could maintain my lifestyle. I could do this without the medication. It was kind of like a personal thing for me. Like, I wanted
Yeah.
to know that I could do this on my
Mhm.
own, which I think I've proven at this point.
Yeah.
But I think that was why I wasn't really scared going off the medication. I didn't have this fear that I would regain the weight. Like, of course, I took
Mhm.
a lot of data on myself, weighed myself every day, tracked the weight trends. I kept having my quarterly DEXA scans, but that fear never came up because I really believed. Like, I had the evidence to back it up. I had the lifestyle changes, the systems, I had everything in place. So, for people who I guess fear or
Mhm.
build up or like have instinctually like have that fear, I think it is coming from the subconscious of like, there's something that you need to do that you did not do. So I think it's time to work. I think it's really time to accept the fact that you need to start working to help
Mhm.
the medication. Like, the medication is not the end all be all. And I will say, some people will have to take this medication for life.
Mhm.
Like, that's not the question. Like, we are all very different.
Yeah.
Um, but we also live in America, where you
Mhm.
might not be able to afford this medication the entire
Mhm.
time. You will lose access, whether you switch insurances, your insurance drops it, or whatever. Or some people are too scared to go compounded or the gray market. So you will need to be able to help yourself help the medication. And I know that
Yeah,
some
and
people
that's
really don't like hearing that. So
no, yeah, no, and it's a very sensitive area because we always as human beings, we always want to be cuddled and, given some kind of hope. And the thing is, like, nothing is ever eternal. Like, nothing is ever eternal. At some point, you're gonna have to find yourself, and that's where I'm at. Because I can tell you right now, I can't quit cold turkey because not that fear, but I'm like, I don't think I'm confident enough to quit cold turkey. So that's why I'm trading down. But you're right. Like, I may be a person that may need this medication in the lowest dose, or I may need to, microdose at some point from 2.5 down. That's another story. But if this were to go away, the one thing that I can definitely encourage other people who are listening to you is definitely build that muscle so that you can actually have something to work out of just in case you don't have the medication. And a lot of it's it's actually sad to me that the beginning of this process where this medication became, and I remember, I mean, the Kardashians and all these actresses, they were like getting skinny or whatever, and that's where the Ozempic came out. I mean, I remember it wasn't too long ago, but it would just went into like, oh, everybody was this desperation of, oh my God, there's something for me to lose weight with, and it works, and it works. But if we continue to do the same thing we've done in the past with other diets and other
Mhm.
ways, like you said, if you don't change how you are eating, if you don't change how you are looking into your own body and seeing what your body needs, then we're going to fall back into the same thing in 10 years from now. Oh, remember the GLP ones? I
Yeah.
mean, of course, the GLP ones are going to, if things are happening in that, in if pharmaceutical level and things beyond me, but you're still going to see the numbers of people who cut the medication because of for whatever reason, and then they gain all the way back because they didn't have a foundation.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned from you today. Build a foundation, don't forget about the muscle, and understand, hold yourself accountable for the part that you do play.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
And also, like, just remember that you have so much more agency over your body than you think. To me, like, that was the most hopeful part to me is that I have power over this. I have
Hmm.
agency over this. So I have never ever said that, oh, this is just where my body is at. Like,
Hmm.
you have so much more power over your body than you think you do. And
Hmm.
GLP-1s is sort of like, how Popeye eats his spinach, and then like that's what the
Yeah.
GLP-1 does, but it's always been like you still need to put in that effort. You still need to put, like lay the first punch. So you have more power than you think you actually do.
Yeah, and I hope that people that are especially the compound community right now, there's a lot of fear going on with what's happening in the world of the pharmaceutical world, and it's all, based on greed. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah. And
There
the
we
thing
go.
is, like a lot the big food companies, they are working their asses off to actually override GLP-1s.
Hmm.
Like they are
Yeah.
doing that because they have seen their profits dip, especially in the
Hmm.
US, because
Hmm.
people are eating less junk
Yeah.
food. Because people are feeling sick when they're eating super fatty, super oily, super,
And I'm seeing now, like, when because I don't get frozen foods, but I go around and I'm looking because I heard that there's like signs now in certain foods. GLP-1 supports GLP-1.
absolutely, absolutely. So, like the other side is also working very hard so that these
Mhm.
medications stop working for us. It's all a
Yeah.
cycle. It's all a
Yeah.
cycle. So we do have to build up our defenses. That is
Hmm.
not dependent on products that are churned out by these big corporations,
Hmm.
because all their bottom line is profit. They don't
Hmm.
care if people are unhealthy, sick, and dying. They just want their profits. For
Yeah.
us, we need to go back to what actually our bodies were built to run on. And that is
Hmm.
whole foods,
Hmm.
primarily whole foods. And yes, please have that cake, have that ice cream. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're human. We
Right.
it's hard. Living right now is very hard. So we do
Yep.
need our treats, but remember that you will be happiest, healthiest, your brain functioning the best when you are running on the things that your body was meant to run on, which is primarily whole foods. And that is why you don't really see advertising for whole foods, is because
Yeah.
it doesn't
You don't
make
see
anyone any
advertisement for
money.
an apple.
Yeah, it doesn't make
No
anyone any
relation.
money. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so true. I went to Ecuador a couple of years ago and I was amazed. And Philippines too. I was amazed at the amount of fruits that I've never seen in my life, and the amount of potatoes that I've never seen in my life. Like it's just all these different, and these are countries that don't have the amount of money that flows through the United States, and yet they have the availability of having whole foods at their, which is why a lot of their people, live longer. That I believe that's why my grandfather lived till he was 100, and my grandparents. And now, it's sad to see the newer generation just, 70, 75, you know because of diseases that are due to metabolic syndrome. But it's also something that can be changed with the way that we eat.
absolutely. And you'll see the trends actually of like
Mm.
other countries seeing rising obesity percentages, and that's because you actually see big food companies becoming more and more prominent in those countries. Like I saw a report from Al Jazeera about how the UAE is facing these issues because of the rise of fast food chains in UAE. The Philippines is the same thing as well. Like, we have a
Mhm.
proliferation of American foods because of
Mhm.
the colonizing link between the US and the Philippines. So we do also have high obesity rates in the
Mhm.
Philippines. I saw an article about, I think it was about Nigeria, about rising
I saw that
obesity
too.
rates in children in Nigeria because of I forgot which company, but it was like one of these like instant noodle
Mhm.
companies that
Mhm.
that came into Nigeria and really like blasted the marketing for that. So we
Mhm.
like there like it's there. The statistics are
Yeah.
there. The evidence is there about the connection between big food and rising obesity rates and why people are getting sicker, and actually the higher rates of malnutrition, like just not having enough like the micronutrients that you need. You're seeing this more now in obese people than you're actually seeing in like underweight people. It's because people are
Mhm.
eating food in large quantities that are not nutritious for them. So you
Mhm.
are seeing a lot more people who are, I think there's a specific term for that, but you are seeing people who are not, who have malnutrition but are not underweight. So it's the
Yeah.
food. It's really
Yeah.
the food.
It's, I mean, it is that simple. It's hard because of all the choices that we have, and who wouldn't want to have something sweet and dandy and salty and nice. But at the end of the day, it's like if you're having that every single day, that's a problem. If
Yeah.
you're not able to balance it out, that's when the problem comes in. So, oh my gosh, it's been so great having you.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having me. This is
you.
such a great conversation. I love talking
I
about these
love
things.
Yeah, I loved it, and I'm gonna call you back in again because I'm gonna have
Absolutely.
questions. Because as I go through this titration, I'm really interested in knowing, like, hey Mima, I need your help. Like, what can I do about this?
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. And I always like my DMs are always open on Instagram. I'm quad.goals on Instagram. I am so happy to help folks. Even just like some folks are just like, hey, I really, really love this like type of sweets. Like, what can I do to
Mhm.
make sure that,
Yes.
like just tips and tricks like that. I've also like, had family members who have asked me like just about like, so what do you do if you get sick and tired of the food that you eat? And I'm like, girl, think of like your fast food order. I'm pretty sure you
Mhm.
have the same fast food order and you eat that like 4 times a week. It's the
Mhm.
same thing. I don't really get sick and tired of the food that I like to eat. They're just whole foods, but it's the same idea from fast food. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I love it. So Instagram, tell us your Instagram and your YouTube.
My YouTube is
Just
the same. It's I believe it is. Yeah, it's quad_underscore goals
underscore.
on
Okay.
YouTube and quad.goals on Instagram.
Okay, perfect. So there's a dot on Instagram and an underscore on YouTube. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank
So happy to
you.
be here.
I'm so happy to for that you came to the channel and appreciate you so much. Thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you
Love you
guys.
all.
Bye.
Bye.